Hey guys, what's going on? It's Chamber here. Now today, this is the first of many videos I'm going to do. So this is a Fortnite FPS, boost your FPS guide. Now I'm going to do a lot of these. I'm going to do a lot of these for different games, especially newer games that are coming out. So before I'd like to say anything, just please, if there are any games that you are interested in, and you want to boost your FPS in them, put it down in the comments. You can hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch if I'm ever streaming. Just be like, yo, I want to see this video about this game, and I can work on it. I will try and figure out the config, figure out little things that will help it. And I will say this, a lot of things in Fortnite specifically are not in the game. There's a couple things you can change, but that's not really right now. We're going to be going through a couple programs while also going into the game. Little things you can also do, certain apps like Discord and Chrome that will help your FPS. So let's get right into it. Now, something I would like to say is that right now, 69% of you guys who are watching my videos are not subscribed. I would like to say, first of all, thank you for watching my videos. And if you are subscribed, thank you so much. But if you have not, please think about hitting a subscribe button. It's awesome if you do that. But anyways, let's get right into the video. So we're going to start with files. So I would recommend installing the C++ packages. So it's going to hit extraction, and then you're going to hit would you like to remove. You're going to hit yes, and then it will uninstall all of your C++ package. It will uninstall the ones you already have, reinstall them correctly. There are 18 in this one. These are 2. This is by a guy named Barf. If you would like to actually get the main files, this is from a website called Major Geeks. But obviously, and then you can do the same for the, you just hit next. I'm going to hit cancel. And then DirectX, this is where a couple of things are different. I know a lot of games and programs will already install these, but I think it's best just to have them already. Make sure that when you hit this, you do not hit the Bing bar. Why would you want the Bing bar? Everyone uses Chrome, and like, that just seems weird having the Bing bar. But anyways, you're just going to let this install. It already finished for me because I already had it. But we're just going to go through this. Now, NVIDIA settings. We're going to stop a little bit with this, and I'm going to talk about, you can type in NVIDIA drivers advanced. Sorry, I spelled advanced wrong. No, advanced driver search. Now, I recommend hitting GeForce, RTX 20 series, or if you happen to watch this one, the 30 series, or whatever they're calling this out, hit the top one, standard or DCH. I recommend standard. It doesn't use the Microsoft Store for the NVIDIA control panel. I know people have actually had issues when like NVIDIA control panel won't download for them, and recommend certified. So please choose standard also. Choose your language. Now you see there's all these drivers. Now 441.41 was like driver for a while. But we're not going to use this one because this one now has issues with older games. Now if you're just playing Fortnite, definitely would recommend 442.74. But if you by chance are not doing it, I recommend 451.48. And honestly, if you just think about playing any games or you're doing slightly something else with your computer, like graphical, definitely use this. Now, this is actually a really good driver. It's really good for also Call of Duty and Valorant. So, just download that driver. And then once you install it, you can hit perform a clean install. And now we're going to go straight to our settings. Now, you're going to open up this thing called NVIDIA Profile Inspector. Now, if you've ever messed around with your NVIDIA settings, you might have actually downloaded this. We're going to change one setting in here. What we're first going to do, hit the little button, and we're going to hit import profiles. You're going to put in the base profile.nip. It'll say profile successfully imported. You're going to hit apply changes. Now we're going to check for this setting. CUDA force P2 state. What this does is when it's set to on, if you're recording with OBS and possibly doing other things like recording, it will down clock your memory clock on your GPU by 500 megahertz. And we don't want that, obviously. So if you turn that off, it won't do it. It's a lot like an AVX offset for your CPU. But if you know what that is. But now we're just going to hit Windows key R, Control, Hardware and Sound, NVIDIA Control Panel. And we're going to go through every single setting. So we're going to start right here. Now I have 2 displays. So you want to do use the NVIDIA setting, use the NVIDIA setting. You can keep this one on and do the same for your second monitor also. Make sure this is set to full so you can have the best settings. color and gamma, there's nothing to change. Make sure it's also set for there, as you can see it is. Multiple displays, you can set your displays how you want. I have mine cloned so you guys can actually see what's going on here. But this is actually where it can get kind of interesting. Now, there's two options. And as you see, I have one set to this. Well, if you want to have your perform scaling, you always want to have it on display scaling. Display scaling is significantly faster. Well, and that's why a lot of people, and then if you really are not playing any games scaled, you can hit no scaling. Also, if for some reason you want to, second guys. Alright guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. So back to what I was saying. You want to have enable desktop resizing off for both. You can also set do not report, which I would recommend. Now scaling. Now, if you're playing stretch res and you have GPU scaling, or you do not want to do forced display scaling, click full screen and overlay the scaling mode set by games and programs and hit apply. Now your monitors will flash. Mine just did. And now we're gonna click yes. Now for this, I want to force display scaling on this one. I am not going to go over forcing display scaling. I will leave a video for you guys on Fortnite doing it. It's very difficult. Recommend turning off audio, but this will reset after a restart. So just hit yes. Now advanced, make sure you use the NVIDIA settings. Now you can turn this up. I like mine just standard because I feel like in a game by Unreal Engine, it kind of messes it up. So yes. Make sure and change resolution. You're at your highest refresh rate, and you have RGB highest, 8-bit, and full out dynamic range for both. Do not choose like I'll have 12, but I think that can actually cause issues. Now, I forgot to mention this. Turn off add desktop context menu and show notification tray icon, and check enable developer settings. Now this is used by GPU profiling tools. This enables developers to debug. It's almost enables slightly more access to your GPU. Definitely recommend it. Now, processor for PhysX. Will not typically be using PhysX in games anymore. It kind of got phased out, but it's still good to make sure it's not on your CPU. It's on your GPU. So just hit GPU. It's like I'm gonna switch back to CPU. Now GPU, and now hit apply. That little thing. Now this is where I would definitely recommend. This is where your big stuff is. Now these have already mostly applied, so I'll just go through them. You want virtual reality pre-rendered frames to be 1. Virtual sync off. That's VSync. You don't want VSync. Input lag. Threaded optimization on. Trilinear optimization on. Quality, high performance. And then all of these can be the same. Shader cache on. You want this on, especially for games like Fortnite. For a game like CSGO, might not be as good. But for prefer refresh rate, highest available, obviously. Prefer maximum power. You're getting a little extra power out. You don't if you're actually checking or wanting to save watts, this isn't the guide for you. 1070 as your OpenGL. Multi-frame sample AA, you don't want. Max frame rate. Turn this off. If you happen to use it, it's okay, but it's not the end of the world. Low latency mode. I've seen so many people say go straight to ultra. No, please do not use ultra. If you are playing all epic settings, go right ahead, hit apply. But we're here for the max FPS and lowest latency in this video. That's why you want to set it to on. And it even can explain it. Sets on to prioritize latency by limiting queued frames to 1. This is the old pre-rendered frames set to 1 setting, if you guys know. By ultra prioritize latency, but this mode minimizes VSync. So this is if you use VSync or G-Sync, which I will talk about G-Sync in a second. Now you have ambient occlusion off, and make sure sharpening is off. You can turn this on, but it will have a slight actual effect on your input lag. Now we're just gonna hit apply now, and now let me actually talk about G-Sync. Okay guys, so I actually had to enable G-Sync on my monitors. Might be a little brighter. Definitely disable it. Just hit apply, because this is, you have to limit your FPS, and we don't want to limit our FPS. We want to have the highest. So then for me, actually in my monitor, I have a setting. If you have an Asus monitor, you might have it. It's an image. So turn off adaptive sync / FreeSync, might be also called G-Sync. And I have a setting called ELMB. I know that Acer has it, I believe, called ULMB, and then BenQ has Diac. You want to have that on. It's a cross stroke. It just enables crosstalk. Slightly faster. It will dim your panel for me, but it is so worth it. All right, now for my AMD users, please turn off FreeSync, turn off virtual super resolution. We don't want to have our stuff higher. We don't want GPU scaling unless you have to. Monitor only supports it. Scaling mode, preserve your aspect ratio. You can choose that however you want. That was just, I don't have an AMD card, so I had to find these off the internet. Now, anti-lag enabled. This is like on for low latency mode. Radeon chill. We are not here to save power. We don't want movement-based dynamic resolution. We want to stay at the same resolution we've set the whole time. Please disable image sharpening. We are not wanting our pictures to look better. We want it to look the way the game wants it to be, so that we don't get any dumb lag. Okay, now timer resolution. I know everyone's heard, oh my gosh, timer resolution. Now, you see 3 things here. Now, the first thing you want to do is you want to set latency bcd edit.cmd. You're going to want to hit that key. Then you're going to want to restart. When you restart, you can actually, you can open up intelligent standby list cleaner. It's already in my task manager. You'll see current timer resolution 0.5. If it is not 0.5, run it again. There's something wrong. Or you have high precision event timer disabled in your motherboard. Want that enabled. Now, I'm just going to stop it right here. You're going to make sure that enabled custom timer resolution is enabled, checked. You want to hit 0.50. Now, please make it so that your RAM is cleared, not go to the page file in your game, causing latency, which is basically like using your hard drive or your SSD as RAM. So now you have 1024 and 8192. Now 1024 is what I recommend for anyone who has 8 gigabytes of RAM or more. But if you have a 4 gig stick, please set this to about 300 or 512. Now Control Shift Escape. This is the size at least. So that's like if the size of just random memory that's no longer used is taken up. Now, this next one, 8192. This is actually want to be half of your RAM, so 16. So what you're going to do is you're going to do 1024 times half your RAM. So if you have 32, it's 1024 by 16. If you have 8 gigs, 1024 by 4, which is 4096. Then you have 1000. Well, most people I typically believe have 16 gigs of RAM, so that would be 1024 by 8. You'll get 8192. Then you're going to hit start. This will actually start it and force that timer resolution. So we're just going to minimize that. Do not close this out. Then you're going to want to create a shortcut. I like to name mine ISLC, so I kind of know what it is. And then I just throw it back into the move. Then you're going to open up your startup programs. Mine is already here, so this will make it so that when you turn on your PC, it'll automatically set. And you don't have to like touch it, because I know that can be annoying. So anyways, then you're going to want to grab this folder right here. Just drag this to your desktop. Now, Windows key and E, you're going to open up your C drive, your program files, and then you're going to want to throw this in here. So set timer resolution, move to program. I just realized I don't have it. So move to program files. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to hit install str. Now you can actually check by hitting services.msc. Now, I believe it should show up. ST. 1 second, guys. I'm sorry. All right, guys, I'm back. Sorry. So it turns out that I actually had it in the wrong actually command in. I was lucky I checked that. So just you can copy and paste it. Now, one thing I actually forgot to mention for you guys is that for intelligent standby list cleaner, I would actually recommend throwing this in your C drive before doing the shortcut, because then I cannot actually delete this folder. You have to have the exact file location the both times. So definitely throw that in like your program files, or maybe like your documents, or somewhere where you're not going to have an issue with it being there. Well, anyways, so then you're going to hit that, and then you can hit. So once you throw this into your program files, not your program files x86 folder, and hit that, then you can hit edit with Notepad++. You can actually check to see if it works by restarting and then going services.msc. Now, it will actually show up in your automatic, but if you can't find it, let's say you're like right here and you're like SC, set timer resolution, perfect, and it's automatic, and you can make sure it's running. If it's running, it will say running. If you want to start it, you can hit start. So, we're actually all done with that. Now, power plants. Now, a lot of people actually have not heard of this. So, you can hit this, but you want to move this into your C drive. So, I'm going to copy it, paste, with Control C and Control V. I'm going to hit import. Now, it is already imported, but it will set it active. So, you're going to hit Windows key R, or you can actually hit the shortcut. You see, Chambers power plan, made for max performance and not for efficiency. Now, you can actually choose what these buttons do. So, when I press the power button to click shutdown if you'd like, please do not set a sleep button. Then you can make sure that lock is not pressed. The only thing you really want is your shutdown button. So now that we're here in power plants, that is all you really need to do. Now there's this program called auto runs. Now you log on, let's say you have something weird in here that you don't want, you can actually disable that. Scheduled tasks, you can make sure that the only thing there is MSI Afterburner. You can disable stuff like Origin, Steam, Google Chrome update. So GP update, GT update M, Google Chrome elevation. That's actually important too. Disable Easy Anti-Cheat and Battle Eye. Want those enabled, they will re-enable in Fortnite. Please be careful what you do in this though. You can like move, like let's say there's a bunch of Microsoft bloatware. Like I don't have it on my system, but let's say you had a bunch of logon stuff, like weird Microsoft stuff. You can actually turn that off. Now, before we get to the game config, we're going to do a couple of things. Hit Windows key and I. Now, you want to hit this, and you want to hit your About page. And if you are on 1709, you do not actually want to follow. So there'll be a gaming tab. You want to make sure that game mode is on if you are on anything that says 1803, 1809, 1903, 1909, or 2004. Now, privacy. This is different. Now, location, camera. Want camera and microphone on, and everything else should be off. You can also check your background apps to make sure all of these are off. Now, that is basically it for here. Now, there's actually a couple things you can do in your control panel, but it will not give you a massive FPS boost. If anything, they'll give you like 0.1, because we typically, if you want, you're gonna have a decently high system. But I'll still go over them with you. So Windows key R control. You're going to hit System and Security, System, Advanced System Settings, Advanced Settings, Adjust for Best Custom, and then hit Smooth Edges of Screen Fonts and Show Thumbnails instead of icons. Hit Apply, hit OK. Now, System Protection, you can turn that off. Now, there's a couple things in here. Advanced, hit Background Services, Programs, Apply. Now, I actually unset that. Make sure that is set. Make sure that your any hard drive you have is set to none, but your actual hard drive is the one page. I'll hit set. You'll have to restart. Hit apply. Hit OK. Hit OK. Now I'm not gonna restart because I've already done all of this before. Restart later. Now we're actually gonna go over also your Discord settings. So you can just go on Discord, and now we're gonna go straight to. I thought Discord was gonna break for some reason. Hit appearance. Now make sure that hardware acceleration is unchecked. This will make sure that it's not using your graphics card to run Discord. It doesn't look any different. It doesn't perform any different. And then you can also enable quality of service high packet priority. This can actually cause some issues and cause you to sound like a robot, and also kind of mess around with your internet and your ping. So I definitely do recommend turning that off. Maybe even depending on your CPU, H.264 hardware acceleration. But I found that actually leave that on. It will use the new NVENC to share your screen. It can help you. So now that we can just close out of that, we're going to go to your browser of choice, minus Firefox. Hit options. And now hit use hardware acceleration. Now I set this to 8. I'm closing it when I do. But I'm actually going to show you a trick for Chrome. So when you open up Chrome, actually let me install Chrome. Alright, so when you open up Chrome, you're just going to hit those 3 dots, hit settings. Now nothing in here really does matter. I recommend not having a theme. That really doesn't matter though. And just hit continue running on the background. Just make sure that is unchecked, so like that. You can also do the use hardware with acceleration. I mean, you're gonna play a game in here, you might want to have it on. Or if a website like has a lot of animations and you're having trouble, turn it on. But you can turn it off. It's personal preference. I like to have that off. And now we're gonna actually open up Epic Games Launcher. Now, for some reason, mine does this. I just don't too lazy this on him. So we're gonna hit that. We're gonna full screen this. Now you can hit your settings. So enable offline mode browsing. I actually like that on. Maybe that's why I'm not. But anyways, minimize system trait. Turn that off. When my computer start, turn that off. Like, please no. Cloud saves, you can turn that on so that your settings are all saved. I don't like it. Throttle downloads off so you can get your updates because these updates take forever. Turn off desktop notifications and allow auto updates for Fortnite. That's something I do recommend. Do not have any command line arguments for this game. Ever since that new engine, the one after season 2, these don't work. They actually can make your game crash. That's something I learned. So we're just going to launch the game now. Actually, we're not going to launch the game. I want some suspense. We're going to go into our BIOS. Alright guys, so what you're going to do is you're going to open up your good old thing and then you're going to hit shift and restart. Now you'll get this little screen, hit troubleshoot, UEFI firmware settings. It typically is over here, but it's over here now, and just hit restart. Now we'll actually go into your BIOS now, and every BIOS will look different. There will be a couple of settings that will look different, but anyways, we're just gonna get right into it. Now I'm actually gonna full screen this page just because I actually need to be able to see it. Now we're not gonna really touch a lot of these things. I just hit the different load XMP setting. Do not have this at auto. Have this at your XMP profile, and you can make these sure. These are my custom timings. This will typically set to 1.35. I have it slightly higher. There's nothing really. There's CPU. You can always touch these, but there's a couple of things that I think are important. So it is in CPU comments, global state disabled. It doesn't matter if you're on Intel, AMD. Now I am actually going to say this right now. That is, make sure that you have your prefetcher enabled. That will help. Now hit accept if you're on AMD, and you'll see like a custom P states. Make sure this is enabled. This will kind of make sure that your CPU does not downclock as easily. Now there's nothing really in here for you guys to see, so we're just gonna go to one thing. It's called Intel Speed Step Speed Shift. If you have a K CPU, like a 9900K, a 97, 96, 10900K, 10700K, but if you have something like a 9400, a 10900, and so if you have a K anywhere in the last 2 letters of your CPU, and also an X or an XE CPU like a 9980XE, you're going to want to disable that. If you have something like a 9400F or just a 9400 or anything with just the letters, I mean just the numbers, and then maybe an F, you're going to want to just have your Intel Speed Step and Speed Shift enabled. Now, I know some BIOSes, especially pre-built, will actually not have these settings. Sorry for you guys. There's some ways to get around that, but I'm not going to cover those because this is definitely not for everyone. And we're going to now explain a lot about gaming, about your config in your game. While this is loading up, I'll actually explain this. That config doesn't really do much. I mean, it does a couple of things, but in my opinion, I don't see it as much. So just hit Windows key R, app data, local. You're going to find Fortnite. Well, mine's not here, so you can actually make a brand new one, but I'm going to just open this, game config, Control C, Control V. Now I'm going to explain a couple of things. So saved, config, Windows client, game user settings. Now hit edit with Notepad++. Then you're going to hit make sure show grass is false. And there's a couple of settings about like mouse acceleration. That doesn't really do much. Make sure this is 1920 by 1080 or 720p or whatever you play on. Make sure that you're in full screen. Now these settings kind of showed up last update for me. They don't do much. Now, everything is set to 0 here. Now, the only thing you might want to change is view distance. You can change that to like, I don't know, 3 is epic. Obviously, you're going to have to set it off of read only to do that. all these settings will be set like how I have them right now if you just load my config. So we're just gonna open up the Epic Games launcher, and then we're gonna launch the game. And I will actually explain a couple of settings to you guys. So I'm gonna load the game right now. One more thing that I promise we'll get into it. So go into where you have your game. So mine's in D, Games, Epic, Fortnite. Then for no matter what, you're gonna go in Fortnite game, binaries, and 64. Now, you're gonna find these. Sorry, what just happened? Alright. Now, you're gonna see these. Fortnite launcher, the shipping EAC, the BE, and just the shipping. You're gonna right click on what says shipping.exe. Compatibility. Change settings for all users. And override high DPI scaling set by application. Disable full screen optimizations. And run this program as administrator and hit apply. Now, run this program as administrator used to be a really big deal on older Windows. It's not as big of a deal now. So, we're actually fine if you don't want to set this, but I will reset it so that this is the highest priority in Windows. Disable full screen optimizations. Make sure you do this so that we run an exclusive full screen so that you don't have stuff that can interfere like your desktop. Then override high DPI scaling behavior. Set this performed by application. This will help your mouse feel better and that your mouse will be truly controlled by the game. We're gonna hit apply. You're gonna hit OK. You do not need to do it for the other three. Not need to at all. Now we're just going to open up my Epic Games launcher like a bazillionth time. And now what you're gonna do is you're gonna hit library, launch, and then we're gonna get right into Fortnite. So I'm gonna launch and I'll be right back with you guys. Alright, so now we are in Fortnite. Now we're actually gonna hit settings. Now make sure you are in full screen. You can make sure that your resolution is whatever you want, 1600 by 900, 720p, 1440p or 4K, but most of the time you're gonna be in 1080p. Brightness. Now I actually have to set this to the old game colors. So that's why it's at 50. It's actually at 1.0 gamma. You can set this to 2.2 is the standard in game, or 100%. Color by mode, set this. I don't have anything set. I have my quality preset set to low, 3D resolution at 100%. Now you have near, off, low, low, low. This gives you the highest FPS and the lowest possible issues. Now you have VSync off, motion blur off, show FPS on, DirectX 11. People be like, DirectX 12 gives you higher FPS. But the mouse feels garbage. Feels terrible. Make sure multi-thread rendering is on. If that setting shows up, you should have it on. And then use GPU crash debugging off. You don't want anything using your CPU. Now, make sure your matchmaking region is set to your actual servers. Mine's NA East. And then none of these really settings matter for me especially, except for NVIDIA highlights. Make sure those are off unless you do use them. You need to have that on. Peripheral lighting. We don't want our keyboards and mice connected to what we're playing. Record replays off unless you're playing something mayhem. You have to have that on. So just leave that on. You can turn it on this and then turn it back off if you need to. These don't really matter. These are all personal preference. This is all personal preference. Controller's personal preference. But one thing I do recommend is that lock input method. If you do not use a controller, turn this on. I don't. It's just I didn't for this config. Sound effects. These are all personal preference. I have this at low just in case you have it at super high, like 9600 kilohertz. Back 3D headphones off. This makes it worse hearing. It's terrible. I tape this off just that I don't have people hearing it. You can turn it on and turn it on when you need it. Binds and everything is personal preference. Okay. Now, there is actually nothing else that we can do with Fortnite. So, I would like to say thank you guys so much for watching this video. This has definitely been a long one. I will post this on my Google Drive. I'll leave it at the first link down below. You'll have to extract it with 7-zip. If you use WinRAR, I'm sorry, do not use WinRAR. Use 7-zip. 7-zip is the best. It is free. It is truly free. So that's why I definitely recommend that. And I'm gonna end this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it this far, hit that like button down below. Subscribe if you guys are new. My name's Chamber, and I will see you guys in the next video. Leave a comment down below if you want any more games. See you guys. Bye.